today is all about digital leaders, and we're thinking about the three sort of steps to how we're going to get digital leaders in schools. So we've got our recruitment, then we've got training, and then we've got how those digital leaders are going to actually lead and show their leadership in schools, in school. So what makes a good digital leader? When you're thinking about recruitment, you're going to want a people who's got creative use of technology in them. They want to use technology safely, they're responsible, but equally you want children who want to help others, who are ambassadors maybe for using certain things in the classroom that others look to get help and support. And you're looking for children who've got enthusiasm, they're responsible, they've got a willingness to learn. You're just really looking for an all round, I suppose what Nicole would actually say, a good egg. She loves that. So when you're thinking about recruiting them, I know the guys on the call here, you do have yours already recruited, but we'll just go through a few different bits that you can think about. So who are you thinking about recruiting? Are you thinking about P6, P7? Are you thinking about Key Stage 2 team? It really depends on the size of your school. So personally here in school, we've got P6 and 7 because we're only one form entry. But if you're a bigger school, say 2 or 3 form entry, you might just pick from P7. Or you might be thinking about your ability of pupils. You know, maybe in 6, you've got quite a lot of really ICT capable pupils. So then you want to bring some of them in and have them on for 2 years. So you maybe just want to look at your cohort before you decide about who you're going to recruit. And then think about promoting that. So talking about an assembly, putting it on the school newsletter, maybe sending, if you've got current digital leaders like yourselves and you're recruiting new ones, so thinking about sending them into classes and tell the other classes about what they do when they meet, what they do when they meet, what new things they've got to do that they don't get to do just in normal day-to-day classroom activities. Okay, you might want to get them to make some posters or videos maybe for just put into classrooms and get children recruited that way. Or maybe onto Google Classroom or whatever digital platform you're using, put their posters and videos on there to just get children excited and wanting to come and join you. Okay? And then you're going to start to think about how they're going to apply. So some schools use an application form. Some schools have like a little job description. That's what we did. We just put together a little, this is what you're going to do if you join as a digital leader. And then I asked mine at the time to make a little presentation, and they did that in whatever way they wanted. So they could have just written a piece. It could be handwritten or obviously digital. They could have made a video, a poster. They can make a comic strip, any which way that they wanted to share how they were going to bring the role to life, if you like. Okay. And I've got a few ideas about that coming down. Then if you want to select, if you've got so many applications that you need to maybe have a bit of a selection process, you might want to bring them all in and have a chat together. You might want to give them a task, see how they get on with it, see how they might teach others how to do something, because that's really part of the role of digital leaders, is you thinking about how are they going to go into maybe P2 and help out. So you're looking for their communication skills, their willingness to help, how they come across to others and how well they explain things, because obviously we know ourselves, sometimes when you explain things to a class, you need to explain it in several different ways for everyone to understand. So whether they have those sorts of skills and whether they have patience as well, it's a big one.
Yes, definitely in ICT.
And then, yes, and all of the things that go wrong, as we all know. And then when you appoint them, so are you celebrating them? Do they have an assembly where they get a badge, a certificate? Are they going to tell people about what they're going to do? Are you going to put that out to parents, maybe in a newsletter, just to get them excited about being in this new team and in this new role? So if you were thinking about an application form or a presentation, I've popped in some questions, and when you get the slides, obviously you can have a little read over those yourselves and some ideas of things you might ask, or ask the children to describe times in which they did things. And then you also want to be thinking about your range of pupils. So I know myself, when I went into P6 and P7, I already kind of had an idea in my head about which pupils I thought would be wanting to be involved and which pupils I might need to give a little prod to say, like, I know you'd be really good at this. I'd love you to apply, because they might not necessarily. They might just not have the confidence to do it, or they might just be quiet and not think it's something for them, when actually it's a really good opportunity for those children to get involved in a team that isn't a sports team or a musical event. It's something different. So our first breakout room was, how did you recruit your digital leaders? So we'll move on to training. So what we're thinking about, really what you want them to learn, what do you want them to achieve, and then what do you actually want them to bring to your school after that. So that training part has to come first. So when are you going to do it? Personally, we have an after school club. I know some people do it at lunchtime, some people do break times because they have longer breaks. Maybe do 2 short break times a week, 1 after school club a week. So you're thinking about your timetable, how you can fit that in. And the first thing that I started with on mine was building on existing skills before I started to do anything new. So we worked on, for example, this half term, Adobe had those monthly creative challenges. So I did those with them to kind of gauge how good their existing skills were, what they were able to do before I started to build on them and then make a plan of where we were going to go. But when you're thinking about where you're going to go, there's loads of opportunities. I've called this training, essentially, because you are training your pupils, but things that you can do with your pupils that are free and easily accessible and easy for you to get structure to your club or lunchtime, whatever it is. So you've got things like your Adobe Live lessons, which are excellent because you can watch them back. So after you've signed up for them, say they're at 2 o'clock or 1:30 or whatever, and you don't have your digital leaders on then, you could then watch them the next day when you have them at after school club and work on those live lessons together. And then that's an extra that the children are getting that the rest of the school aren't, and learning new skills. There are things like Everyone Can Create. If you have iPads in school, they've got some excellent training resources you can work through. For example, whole sets of lessons on GarageBand or using Notebook. Yes, I'm right in saying that, aren't I? Emma, correct me. Notebook?
Where am I? I'm not too sure. Where are you? What are you looking at?
You're not Apple. No, I said iPads. Isn't it Notebook?
Their Keynote.
Keynote, thank you. I knew I was saying the wrong word, but could I think of the right word? No. So yes, Keynote. So you're thinking about moving through a set of lessons on those. And then say, for example, then you're rolling that out next term in Key Stage 2. Everyone's using Keynote in their classrooms to do something in World Around Us, for example. Then you can get those digital leaders going out because they've already done it with you, and they can go in and support staff, they can go in and support pupils. You could roll it further down the school, say, for example, if you're doing something on Just Too Easy, and the teachers are new to it, the kids are new to it, but you've got your digital leaders trained up. And again, that's them using more of their leadership skills as well as their ICT skills. But you're trying to build up their capacity in lots of different ways, not just in digital skills. You want them to build up their capacity across their sort of attitude to learning, if you like.
The way sometimes the cool kind of like, again, it depends on your perspective in ICT. So the way I kind of view ICT is actually more of a like communication skill, is how do I talk to computers and how do they talk back? I will say this as my intro for always and forever. So it's what Catherine's kind of describing is almost like being, Nicole says it much better than I do, but it's being device agnostic and software fluent, essentially, because at the minute, you're either Apple or you're either Microsoft or PC, but like pupils don't always, you're always taught on a Microsoft laptop, and then you go in and you have to use an Apple computer, or you might have to go and use a different computer with a different software system in like all of these different companies. So dipping your toe in the water and all these different types of things, you don't have to be an expert in them all. You just have to dip your toe enough in all of them to kind of get a feel for all of them, in our opinion, and to kind of like, to then give your students and yourselves like the full breadth of the different types of languages that are out there.
Yeah. Thanks, Em. The other things that are on there that we've got, so we've got obviously Adobe bits and pieces that you can do. You've got Everyone Can Create with Apple. You've also got Dreamspace down there with W5. You can do trips out to Dreamspace, but they also have programs that you can sign up to and do with your digital leaders if you have a look on the W5 website. And then the last one on there is the Google version, Be Internet Legends, and it again has a very structured program that you can follow. So if you're looking for something to do with your digital leaders that doesn't take planning on top of your teaching and learning planning, those are great places to start. Equally, as I said, I've been doing the Adobe Ambassadors program, which I'm not sure whether that's going to be rolled out or not, but we had used lots of the guided activities which are on Adobe for you to use, and they've got videos at the side that take the children through what to do step by step. So again, you've got that support there, even if you're not as confident in whatever the program is that you've chosen, or that exact thing that you're doing that day. Say, for example, it's animate a character on Adobe and you've never done it before. You've got the little guide at the side. So no matter what you pick from any of those ones on the screen, they've all got guidance with them. So that'll help you get started. And they're all free, which is obviously the most important thing for us as teachers.
I
So
haven't
the-
tried my best.
Yeah.
Everything, all of those links that Catherine's mentioning in the chat if you want to have a wee explore.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Leadership. So you're thinking about the aim of your program and what they're going to do with their learning, which is kind of where we got to there when we were talking about that. So these are some of the ideas that I had kind of popped on to think about different ways you could utilize your digital leaders. Now, obviously, you're not going to be doing all of these things, but it's just nice to get an idea of what I suppose I've seen from schools. So what lots of different schools are doing, including what I do myself, and then what friends' schools are doing as well. So just everyone, you know, it's all those tidbits of information, which I guess is what this is all about. You know, you pick up all the things that other people are doing and then you make it your own, and it's then your school's way. So the first one on there is peer support. So we've talked about that quite a lot there with helping younger classes. So even things like going in with P1 or P2 and helping them log in. You know, the older children love doing that. It's such a help for the teacher. The younger children are seeing the older ones typing. They're getting to have that interaction, even a bit of chat. You know, it's just building those relationships, which is lovely then as you go through school. But equally, that can then translate into them nipping back in at the end of the session to help save the work. So they're not there the whole time, but they could just be there beginning and end. Or if you needed them there the whole time, like say with your Just Too Easy, you were talking about there with, you know, they could help us facilitate using the program with the kids, sort of acting like a tech buddy, if you like. The other things that we've got on there, things like leading training. So we've done little sort of workshops in the past, like a little break time call-in, where if people want to learn how to use something, say, for example, we'll just go back to Just Too Easy, and they want to learn how to animate a character. They haven't done that in their lessons yet, but they've seen it and they want to do it. We might run like a little 15-minute session at break time and let the younger ones come up and see the older ones doing it, which is again has been a lovely way for them to get excited about then ICT lower down the school or equally higher up the school. My class this year, we have sort of like an upstairs and a downstairs, so we call it upstairs classes, which P4 begins upstairs, and they've started to use Adobe this year. So I've had the P6 and 7s doing little taster sessions of some of those little very short guided sessions, and mine have been going into them because they've got so excited about using it in class, they want to use it more, and then they've actually gone home and done the guided activities themselves, which has been really lovely. Or the other things they could do with the leading side of things might be creating like a step-by-step guide for something, or a wee video tutorial that you could share in your classroom. Assemblies is another great one for sharing. So even along the online safety side of things or digital citizenship, getting them to share ideas, make a presentation, speak at the front of assembly, or even just share every month in assembly like a little tech tip or something like that. Just getting them up and speaking in front of others and getting those sort of communication and leadership skills that we know we all need later on in life. Resource creation, sort of similar to the training, so maybe making a poster about how to do something, or maybe a poster about making a safe password, or maybe about using, say for example, Control V, because lots of classes forget that, so little posters for your ICT suite, or that could be attached onto your trolley if you have iPads or Chromebooks for reminders for children so they can just visually see it rather than, you know, the whole hands up asking side of things. And we've also got things on there like positive use, tech support, so even things like making sure the printer has paper. Just little jobs they can do, like nearly like P7 sort of prefect roles, and setting up devices for younger classes, all that sort of thing.
You wouldn't believe how many like like just even for if you have iPads, like getting them on charge.
Yes, exactly. So ours plug in the Chromebooks at the end of the day, and they bring up paper to the printer upstairs every day, like little bulbs.
Yeah. I don't know, again, every school is different in terms of how they manage their devices, but just updating them can take a time. Having those thought throughout the year, because you don't have to do them on a yearly basis. So even your tasks, like what are your weekly, monthly tasks? What are your sort of, maybe every term you do this kind of a task? Maybe you get leaders, like, because again, devices have no memory. And going through and like removing images, removing photos, or delegating them in the right folders. Think these little small things. Catherine, you're doing fantastic, by the way. I'm just adding you here. Hope you don't mind. And just for things like that, it's really, really useful for you. And again, think about how are they going to ease your life as a ICT coordinator. I always think back to open days are coming up. Like if you have loads of digital work that you want to showcase, maybe your digital leaders can create QR codes so that the guests can scan them and reveal them, things like that. Or if there's some sort of do you do a tech audit? Is it their job to go and collect all the devices, get all the wires, things like that, to help you asset tag them, things like that. There's loads of little tasks.
Yeah, there is. And actually, two of the things that you said there, I've got mine to do recently, removing all the old names off Chromebooks, the kept logins. So taking all the children off who don't need to be on anymore on the homepage. And one day we did an ICT board, and they made the board for me. So printed off work, QR codes, trimmed it all for me, and then we put it up together on one of our club days. So again, it's just giving them those opportunities, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to say, in an ideal world, what we your digital leaders do in school, but we've kind of sort of covered that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All the things that we've talked about there, and the links for the Dreamspace, Be Internet Legends, all of those things are on the Did You Know This Digital Leader Guide, which the QR code is for there. And I've got the link at the end of the presentation as well, if you need the typeable link, if you want to scan that. So it's got most of the things that we discussed. It's got all the application ideas are on there. I've just kind of broken it down a little bit more on the presentation, but all the bones of it are on that guide that Nicole and Emma have put together. And the last couple of things that I just wanted to point out that I know myself I've been using, and lots of people have been talking about, is the 12 Days of Creativity on Adobe. They are all little guided lessons. Now, I have been doing them with P4, so they're really accessible. Not all of them are as easy as others, obviously, but we've done 5 of them so far, and all of my class have managed really, really well. So I know we're going a little bit off digital leaders, but if my P4s are doing it, you could be doing them P5, P6, P7. They're lovely short activities. For example, the Stuffy or the One Word Wallpaper might take your P7s 15, 20 minutes. But it's a lovely piece of work. It gives you a bit of breathing space over the next week or so when you're going, oh, there's a choir practice, I need something for 20 minutes, and you've got nothing ready. Those are great go-tos. The normal links are all on there for Adobe training, for signing up to be an ACE leader, which are some lovely webinars that Nicole leads. The next one, if I'm thinking right, Emma, is tomorrow.
I actually don't know.
I think it is tomorrow. It's in my diary. I think there's an ACE leader tomorrow. So if you want to join that, please sign up. They're really good. Again, you get loads of hints and tips. You see what other people are doing, and just gives you a bit of inspiration, which is amazing. Our other links that we've got on here are, are our NI 45 lessons. So your world around us, literacy, geography, art and design, all the links and lesson plans, resources are all in there on the adobe.ly/NI45 lessons. And again, I know I say this probably every time, but they're so adaptable. I've picked so many of them and changed them into the topic that I'm doing. You just need to have a little look at what is in the guide, and then it's so easily changed. It's great. And the bones of it are there, which is the most of what we struggle with as teachers, is thinking of the activity. But when you've got something to start with, it sometimes is a lot easier. So here's our link for Did You Know This? That's where our digital leader guide is. Also, the clickable link on there when you get the slides is for the 12 Days of Creativity. It'll take you to the little video that introduces them, and then from there you could pick which ones that you wanted to do. And that brings us to the end. If anyone wants to ask any further questions, please let me know.